Hello, and welcome to the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast, where we learn about the ocean, share sea stories, and explore ocean careers. I'm your host, Kara Muzia. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey, do you want to help the oceans? Have you considered a career in marine biology, but maybe just aren't sure where to start? Head on over to my website, marinebio.life, and subscribe to my newsletter. When you subscribe, you'll receive a free PDF download where you'll learn the 7 steps to becoming a marine biologist without the degree. Hello, mermaids, pirates, ocean lovers, and land lovers. Welcome to today's show. Question: what do you call a whale with bad posture? A humpback whale. What do sloths do at their prom? Slow dance. Past So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist intern Aislinn Olthoff joins us on the show today. Inspired by nature around her and Jane Goodall, Aislinn took a gap year after high school in order to figure out where her interests lie. A pivotal volunteer opportunity working with elephants in Asia firmly pointed her to her degree in wildlife conservation. Not one to sit idly by, Aislinn did quite a bit of traveling and work during her undergrad, including to Costa Rica, Africa, and Paris, France. Then she decided to turn her focus below the surface of the waves and discovered the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast. This led her to an amazing position as a naturalist working in close proximity to humpback whales in Hawaii. Aislinn has such a great story and some really great insights into the conservation world and connecting with nature. I am so proud to share this episode with you. Please enjoy. Aislinn, welcome to the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm super stoked to be on.
This is so fun chatting with you on the show. Cool. So, you have a degree in wildlife conservation, which I think is super cool and super fun. How did you even get started in that sphere?
Yeah, so I have always loved animals since I was really little. My family had pets and would take me out to a lot of really natural, beautiful areas to see wildlife on whale watches and stuff like that. So my interest in wildlife continued on, and after high school, I decided to take a gap year. So I saved up and I went to Southeast Asia and worked on a couple of wildlife refuges with elephants and other animals. And after that, I was pretty sure that is where I wanted to continue on with my career.
Yeah. So what were you doing with the elephants in the wildlife conservation? What does that role look like?
In Southeast Asia in particular, it does look a lot of different ways because wildlife tourism is so huge for their economy. So I had to do a lot of research before going because a lot of camps or places you can volunteer do elephant riding and stuff that really isn't good for the animals, isn't natural for them. So primarily what I was doing is gathering their food for them, like picking their food, preparing their food. At both refuges, we weren't really allowed to touch the elephants at all. And they had really large enclosures that they could wander around in. So primarily it was a lot of food preparation, picking up their poop. Yeah, nothing really pretty, but it was so much fun. And that is the gist of it. I did have the opportunity to go on an elephant rescue with Wildlife Friends Foundation Thailand. So they actually had to buy an elephant from a trekking camp, and we brought it all the way back to the refuge. So that was definitely a highlight moment for sure.
Yeah, that's wild. So wait, is that the organization that you were with?
Yeah, so I started at Elephant Nature Park, which is elephants, and then they have about 500 dogs. So I was a dog volunteer there. And then I moved on to Wildlife Friends Foundation Thailand, and they have a plethora of species. But the elephant rescue was with them.
That is so cool. That's really fun that you actually got to go and be like, one soul saved. Go be free, be in the wild.
Yes. I will never forget.
Very cool. So you took a gap year after high school. Why did you decide to go get a degree right after your gap year?
I think I was just ready to kind of have some more structure in my life and I wanted to move on. I think I've always sort of been interested in getting a master's because just looking at my dream jobs, just even in high school, I saw that the qualifications I needed to meet were a master's degree. So yeah, I didn't want to wait any longer to go ahead with that process of getting where I want to be.
Fair enough. And what made you choose, I don't know why I keep, Juniata, is that how you pronounce the name?
Yeah, so I actually started at Denison University, and there I studied biology. And then I moved on to Juniata because I knew I wanted to focus a little bit more on wildlife and environmental science. And my brother had actually gone there, and that's their main program. So that's why I chose Juniata.
Yeah. And you were busy while you were there. I mean, didn't you're part of like the Eco House and all of the fun organizations there, right? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Juniata is a teeny tiny school. There's only about 1,500 students. And Eco House was a community living learning house. And there were about 7 of us sort of devoted to raising awareness on how to live more sustainably. So we would have a lot of events where students could come to our house, like vegan potlucks and ways to reduce your plastic intake in your everyday life. And that was Eco House. And yeah, it had sort of come and gone from the university, and we kind of pioneered the effort to bring it back after about 2 years of not being on campus at all. So kind of restructuring what it looked like.
Very cool. And then after school, you did quite a bit of traveling. Or was this kind of during school? No, this was during school that you did all your traveling, huh?
Yeah, it was during school, yeah.
All right. So let's chat about it. What was the first stop?
Okay, so the first stop while I was at Juniata, between my sophomore and junior year, I went to be a sloth technician in Costa Rica. It's like the best title I've ever
so much.
I've ever and will ever have in my whole life. But it was in Costa Rica through the Sloth Institute.
What was your position? I was a sloth tech.
Yeah.
Did you just get to snuggle sloths all day? Please tell me yes.
Sloths are definitely not as nice or as docile as all of those videos we see on the internet. No, they can actually be pretty evil, especially two-fingered sloths. So there wasn't a lot of cuddling unless they were babies, and then that did happen a couple of times. So was very lucky for that. But
so the older sloths are sassy.
Yeah, so the whole goal of the Sloth Institute is to understand whether sloths can survive in the wild and sort of function at the same level as wild sloths. So you're researching wild sloths and then sloths that are released, and you're seeing if their behavior is comparable. So essentially, we had sloths brought in due to electrocution or dogs are often an issue with wild sloths. So we would do some of the rehab. And then while I was there at the release site, we ended up releasing 2 adult two-fingered sloths. It was a soft release, meaning that they were in a large enclosure and then the cage was opened and they were given as much time as they would like to go into the forest. And they took their time. I actually never saw them leave.
So they lived up to their name.
They did. Their food was easily accessible, so that's kind of where they wanted to be for as long as possible, I think.
That's awesome. So after sloths, I just love that you were a sloth technician so much. You kept with the primates and you worked with Samango monkeys. Why primates? Did you just kind of fall in love with them?
Yeah, I mean, I have always kind of been a little obsessed with Jane Goodall. Her kind of role in feminism and women in science, and I feel I've always felt really sort of connected to orangutans when I went to the zoo or anything like that. I mean, obviously their capacity mentally is is really high. Yeah, I also really like being able to track and do animal follows, which is what I did with the sloths as well. So monkey work was very similar in that you would be on the ground following them throughout the entire day. So this opportunity with the mango monkeys provided that. And it was kind of another species to see if that was going to be my focus.
Yeah. Where was this?
So this was in sort of northeastern South Africa.
Okay.
Right outside of a town called Louis Tricard.
So like close to Botswana?
Yeah, closer to Botswana.
Very cool. So you're playing with monkeys. And then you go to France.
Yeah. Yes. And then I went to Paris and I was in an office all day. So a huge change. I wanted to understand the policy side of work in conservation as well. I think a lot of my traveling and career has been luckily trying a lot of different things to see where I sort of sit with it all. And so this policy opportunity was with the Natural History Museum of Conservation Lab. And I was working on a report on the ecology of a red fox, or of red foxes, because they're heavily hunted in France. So they're trying to figure out whether or not they need new management applications.
What were some of the results that you had? Do you remember?
Mine was kind of a general overall ecology review. So it was a lot of reading scientific articles. You know, I had sections on their reproduction, on their habitat. And they're a mesopredator.
So it was more just kind of like looking over what they're doing.
Yeah, just looking. Exactly, yeah. Their behaviors, their natural history. Yeah.
And then we get into the fun part. So you've had all like this world experience, like playing in the jungles and like even some policy side of things, working in the office. And like all of this is very terrestrial. What inspired you to shift your focus into the oceanic realm?
After college, like I said, I knew I would want to go on to grad school, but I was still sort of debating whether I wanted to focus on terrestrial conservation or marine conservation. I'd never tried marine conservation. I'd grown up doing, like I said, like going on whale watches with my family most every summer, and I just thought the opportunity to work with marine mammals would be the perfect kind of gateway in deciding whether I wanted to focus on marine. So that led me to the podcast and then eventually to Hawaii.
So for listeners, this is the super fun part of our conversation. So Aislinn decides that she wants to dive into the marine science world. And how did you find the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast?
I think it was honestly just looking around on Spotify for podcasts to listen to. I graduated during the beginning of the pandemic, so podcasts were kind of my life at that point. And yours came up pretty immediately, and I started listening and following you, and then I saw the opportunity to work with you, and I was like, this is it. This is my chance.
So Aislinn was an intern on the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast, and that's kind of how she made the leap from the gap of terrestrial world to the marine world, which is super fun. And you did. So like while you were interning for me, you also were like working on trails in the DC area, which I thought was super fun. And then Aislinn, we hop on our call and she's like, by the way, I got a job in Hawaii playing on boats with whales.
Surprise.
And It was so exciting. It was so exciting. Something I do want to highlight though, I mean, you went through a process to get there, right? It wasn't just like you applied to 2 jobs and you got one of them. Like you applied and you did your research, but it took some time and it took a lot of effort on your part to find this job, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was the beginning of the pandemic as well. And I think everyone was really struggling then. And I would say I probably applied to like over 100 jobs or something crazy like that. Like that was my life at this point. So yeah, feel super lucky to have had really meaningful experiences during that process as well, like doing the podcast and being outside
No, but I think that's a really good point, because a lot of times people get discouraged, right? You apply to like 10, 15, 20, 30 jobs and you're like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to pan out? But I love that you're persistent. Like you were super persistent. You're like, no, this is what I want. And that's what it takes, really. Like, to get what you want, you just don't give up, and then you get it.
Right.
But you can't give up.
Exactly. Never give up. Never give up.
Yeah. So let's chat a bit about Hawaii. So you're working for Pacific Whale Foundation. That's the name of the organization, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. And what were you doing playing on boats?
So I was a naturalist for the Pacific Whale Foundation. We have 2 seasons here in Hawaii. We have what we call the snorkel season, and then we have whale season, which is between like late October and early May. So during whale season, we do whale watches pretty much sunrise to sunset. So educating people about, the natural history of humpback whales and conservation or environmental threats to humpback whales. And then during snorkel season, we do education on the islands and conservation in Hawaii, the fish that we see when we go out snorkeling.
That's super cool. So sunrise to sunset, how many tours are you taking out a day?
We would do about 5 whale watches a day. Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. You get real good at that speech.
You do. Yeah, you do get good at it. But, you're thrown some interesting questions every now and then for sure.
Oh, okay. What's 1 or 2 of the more interesting questions you received while on the boat?
I think a lot of people's questions sort of were beyond anything that I could answer. It's just because like people haven't been studying humpback whales for that long so far. So I can't think of a specific one, but it's just something that we don't necessarily know yet. Like we would drop a hydrophone in the water during the whale watch to pick up the whale song, and people would listen to it and they'd be like, oh, that's a recording. And we were like, no, like that's happening like right under us right now. And people would ask, what are they saying? And, I wish I knew. But that research is still going on. So questions like that.
Yeah, fair enough. That's super cool though, that you like drop a hydrophone in and you can you mic them up basically. You mic them up for a concert. That is so neat.
It's the best part of every whale watch for sure.
Is listening to the whales. Yeah, that's super special. How often did you actually see the whales? Hey, Kara here. I hear it all the time. How do I become a marine biologist? Or my niece wants to help the ocean. Where does she even start? I hear from students, yes, and also nurses, HR professionals, and other mid-career folks who wonder if they could still make their dream of working with sea turtles or sharks come true, wondering if it's too late to answer the ocean's call. Here's what I've learned after 20 years in the field and hundreds of interviews. There's no straight line, no magic degree, and no gatekeeper. You create the path forward. If this sounds overwhelming and vague, I've created 2 tools to help you stop wondering what if and start moving forward with clarity and purpose. The first is my free guide, Be a Marine Biologist Without the Degree. Over 1,000 people have already downloaded this guide and taken their first step towards ocean impact. Inside, you'll find 7 concrete, doable actions to help you get started, whether you're just exploring or ready to make a change. Then there's the Ocean Blueprint. This is a 30-day self-paced course that helps you build your unique path into ocean science and conservation without quitting your job or going back to school. Inside the Ocean Blueprint, you'll get daily prompts to explore your interests, skills, and next steps, a structure that turns overwhelm into real momentum, and a bonus section to root your work into ocean connection. You don't have to wait for a degree, a perfect plan, or permission. Whether you're wading in or ready to take the deep dive, these tools are here to help you move from dreaming to doing. The ocean called. Are you ready to answer? Links in the show notes and on my website, karagracemusia.com. I can't wait to see the waves you'll make.
During peak whale season especially, it's like whale soup out there. Like we'd see at least, I would say, 10 individuals, but multiple groups within that. So all the way up until about maybe a month ago, we were seeing whales pretty much every day.
That's amazing. That's super cool. Were you able to, like, were you seeing kind of the same ones? Like, could you pick out individuals? Like, were you getting that familiar with their flukes, or just like, you kind of like sometimes just see them in the distance?
You could pick out individuals. There was actually this one female who had white pectoral fins. If we didn't see her fluke, we kind of knew because of that. And then also because she was so playful. So she would come up to the boats and hang out for about half an hour. To an hour, honestly. And at that point, when the whales, under your boat, you really can't move at all.
Right.
So
darn.
We would talk about it. There are 2 different harbors for the Pacific Whale Foundation. So she would kind of go between harbors and do this thing that we call being mugged by a whale. And she was pretty notorious.
So wait, what is being mugged by a whale? She just sat under you so you couldn't move? That's being mugged?
Being mugged is when they're within, I think it's like 50 yards of you. But whenever a whale comes really close to the boat, there's like a certain number of yards that I can't remember right now. But that's essentially being mugged because you have to turn your engines off and you can't move at all. So it's kind of up to them when the tour ends at that point, Yeah.
That is so funny. Being mugged. I want to be mugged by a humpback whale.
I know. Everyone always loves that. I know.
That's awesome. So I can imagine like you learned probably a ton about humpback whales while doing this. What were some of the couple of the weirder, crazier, more fun facts that you kind of learned during this position?
I guess I would say I had no idea how long their migration was, and that the majority of their lives is spent migrating. So they're coming, the majority, at least in this North Pacific population, is coming all the way down from Alaska, Russia area, primarily to Hawaii to breed and to have their babies. And that migration takes about 100 days, and then the average adult will only spend about 10 days in Hawaii and then make their way back up. Now, obviously, that's different. If you're having a baby, you'll probably be here for about 4 to 6 weeks because the calf has to drink enough milk to build all of that body fat to make the migration back up. But it's crazy to me, like, how long they stay here versus how long they're actually traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Because you definitely weigh that out, like, as a human traveling, right? Like, well, if it's going to take me 10 hours to get there, is it worth 2 days?
Exactly.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, whatever, we like the travel.
And they also don't eat anything while they are in Hawaii. That was always a trick question on whale watches is, what do whales eat in these waters? And we would say nothing, and people would be totally floored. So they can lose up to half their body weight throughout this whole migration and reproduction process.
That's insane. No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So they're not eating for months?
Yeah. They're like
bears do that, but they go in a
themselves.
cave and hibernate.
I know.
Whales are moving. Like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
That's insane.
I know. And the mom is still feeding the baby, so she's losing even more.
I don't know how she did that.
Constantly.
Yeah, she's losing all the weight.
It's
she's
devotion.
hangry.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's my fun fact for the day. So, I mean, you've traveled a lot, and you've kind of like had a couple of home bases over the last few years. What are something like similarities or differences or lessons learned during your travels or during your whole journey?
Yeah. I think throughout my journey, my living experience with other people has been one of the most meaningful parts because, at least for Costa Rica and South Africa, I was living pretty much in the middle of nowhere with between 5 to 10 other people, and you live together, you eat together, you work together. So that sort of experience where you're all there with this common goal of researching a specific species, and sharing that has been really, really special for me and those relationships. Other similarities are, I think, just again and again coming back to the importance of when you travel, like knowing the culture, knowing where you're going to a certain extent, is what I feel to be a responsibility. So I think that's only come to be more and more true for living in Hawaii as well. And then traveling has also made me appreciate my home environment more and more, and made me want to explore all of the different species there. And I don't think I would have necessarily done that to the extent that I did during the pandemic, for example, when I was home for a really long time, if I hadn't traveled so much and realized how my connection with nature, how important that is to me.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's super important. I think it's something that people are kind of like reawakening to, like that it is so vital, right? It just feels good because we are like, it's not even that we're connected to nature. We are nature, right? Like just going out and being in the world feels right because it is.
Yeah.
So you've gone from like maintaining trails outside of DC to snorkeling in some of the best snorkeling conditions in the entire world.
Yes.
What is that like? Like, how does that feel?
Obviously, they're very different things, right?
Super.
But I think that being home and working on trails, again, made me feel closer to my own sort of home and wanting to protect it. So I think it's been interesting sort of figuring out or looking at the different needs of the environment, and then looking at all of the work that's going on around supporting those needs.
Yeah. So, okay. So like what's going on in Hawaii that's like, that are some of the needs and like some of the support that's going on that you're seeing where you're living now?
Yeah. So tourism is obviously huge in Hawaii. And there is a lot of development going on constantly. So there are quite a few organizations who work on legislation to help, save some of these or protect some of the areas in Hawaii against development. And then in addition to that, obviously, like there's a lot of work into protecting the reefs here and looking at the impact that everything on land, especially around agriculture, how that impacts the reef. So working all the way from the land to the ocean, that's always been a big focus in Hawaiian culture, is understanding that they are the same thing in a way. You can't look at them as separate entities.
The land and the sea.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, they affect each other. The water sheds into the ocean provides everything. So yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. That's super interesting. What's the craziest thing you've seen snorkeling out there?
I think the most, I've had a couple of really epic experiences while we have to hook a line to a mooring ball. And just while I've been doing that, there's been like a monk seal like 10 feet from me. And monk seals are really endangered. So we don't get to see them that much. So just being like doing my work and then looking to the side and seeing a monk seal and being like, oh my God, like I have to finish this task, but I'm freaking out. Those have been really cool experiences. And it's happened with like octopus as well. Just swimming in a line and you're seeing, just like when you unhook, we also have a stern line as well that we hook to a clip on the floor of the ocean. And just swimming that in, I've seen octopus just at the last moment as I'm passing them. And I think that's been really amazing as well.
Magical place you're living.
Yes.
So you have a new position and you haven't started yet. So what are you going to be doing now out in Hawaii?
Yeah, so I'm going to be working for an organization called Ecology Projects International. And they send students to different places around the world to learn about the environment and conservation. So I'm going to be an ecology instructor, working with students, taking them to different local organizations around Maui and doing field ecology projects. I'm super excited for that.
That'll be awesome. All right, Aislinn. You're really familiar with this, but I have a series of questions. You ready?
Yes.
Right. What is your favorite sea creature and why? And this answer can change. Mine changes every day, so.
Oh, man, yeah. Oh, this is so predictable, but I probably would say humpback whales. I think, in part, they're the ones that I've spent, 6 months learning about, but then also they're so incredibly mysterious, especially how they communicate with each other. And their song is like the most mesmerizing thing I've ever heard. And I don't know. I think just that sort of the mystery around them and just how intelligent they are definitely make them number one for me.
I get that. I get that. How often do you see the babies?
The babies are kind of later in the season. So we would see them, I don't know, I would say at least once a week I would see a mom-calf pair. Yeah, definitely pretty often.
What does the ocean mean to you?
The ocean means a lot of things to me. I think since I was younger, it was a place to kind of explore my limits and play. And I think that still kind of stands true because I've been trying to learn how to surf. And I think that the only way to do that is just keep going out day after day and sort of learning the ocean.
Yes.
And that's kind of a vulnerable thing, because you constantly get knocked down and waves will barrel you. And I think it's really special to be that vulnerable, and you can kind of see the power of nature in the ocean a lot more like clearly and right in your face than you can with a lot of other things. So the ocean is freedom and also a place of so much mystery for us humans.
It's true. That's a really good point, though, with surfing, because people traditionally like to swim in calm waters, but when you surf, you definitely know the power of the ocean, and if you're learning to surf, your rite of passage is to eat a lot of foam.
Yes, it's very humbling, for sure. It is so humbling.
But it's fun.
It's so fun. It's worth it. It's worth it to get knocked down a lot.
That's awesome. Are you on a longboard then?
I am. I think I'll always be on a longboard, but I'm okay with that, I think.
Yes. When I was younger, I was like, yeah, no, shortboards, longboards are for old people, blah, blah. Maybe I'm old now. I'm like, whatever, I want my longboard. Thank you.
Yeah. And so many people here surf with a longboard, so you don't feel as out of place because I feel like it's pretty common to longboard.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So you establish the surfing, and then next step is hanging 10.
Exactly. One day.
I want to see those toes on the nose, Aislinn. That'd be sweet.
I'll send you a picture, hopefully, or video.
That'd be epic. That would be epic. All right. If you had a blank check, unlimited funding for any project, or projects up to 3, what would you use the money for?
So this is the question that I struggled with the most, for sure. And obviously I knew it was coming, so it's not something I haven't thought about for a long time. But I think more and more I've been interested in learning about and supporting like Indigenous-led community conservation projects. I think I would just like to lead a project that recognizes and financially supports, technically supports an Indigenous community, because though it's not necessarily protected land federally, actually been found that there's like more biodiversity on land protected by Indigenous people and way less deforestation. Mm-hmm. So it's already there. It's already happening. I just don't think it's at the forefront of people's minds when it comes to environmental goals and conservation decisions. So I can't say exactly what that's going to look like yet, but that's my future goal is to support Indigenous knowledge being used in conservation more and more.
Especially if the cultures there have like kept their stories, right? And like passed that down and kept the connection to the land. Like, and they must have if their, biodiversity is higher than everywhere else. Like, it makes perfect sense. So they've kept the connection that the Western world or the developed world really has kind of lost. So reestablishing that. I dig it.
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite field story or stories to tell? This could be epic day in the water or epic day, playing with sloths. Or it could just be a day where things happened and it makes a really great story now. Or both.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of amazing moments throughout all of my wildlife experiences. I would say the one that comes to mind happened in South Africa. I was on a monkey follow, so we were following a troop of like maybe 30 monkeys, and we had to do behavior scans on them every 15 minutes. So that meant we couldn't lose them. That's like a really short period of time. But obviously monkeys are a lot more agile than humans, and there was this one point at kind of the very end of the day. So we were so close, and if you don't get all of your scans in, if you do lose them, then that day of data kind of gets tossed out. We were so close to the end. I think we had maybe like 4 more scans to do, and we'd been up since like 5 in the morning following these monkeys, and they went up a cliff. And I was like delirious and tired. I'd been in the sun all day. I was like, yeah, I'll just like go up the cliff. I'll just follow them. And my friend was like, there's no way you're going to make it up that cliff. So we like took a deep breath. We got in touch with the office because we had walkie-talkies, and we were like, please send someone down to this location as soon as possible, the other side of the cliff that was actually accessible from above, and take the scan, and then we'll just add it to the day. I think that moment in particular was just really like funny and humbling because it's not always going to work out, and it wasn't a loss at all. Like, we were able to figure out a solution, and I think we just took a moment. I played Beyonce, like we looked out on the mountains and just kind of started laughing, and we were so caught up in it. But yeah, we just really needed to kind of get back in reality. Like, this is going to happen sometimes.
I like it. Problem solving in the field, and it worked out.
Yes.
I'm glad the story wasn't like, yeah, I got halfway up the cliff and fell off and broke my arm.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been that if I didn't have a partner.
All right. At the end of each episode, I like to leave the audience with a conservation topic or ask to go forth and bring into the world. What would you like the audience to take from your episode?
I think I sort of touched on this a little bit already, but I think choosing a place in the world and learning about Indigenous culture and conservation is really important. And I think it's going to change a lot of people's perspective on how they interact with the environment as well, which I think is the first step towards feeling like you're getting somewhere with conservation work, is by having that connection. So that, and I think that can also be tied to just getting involved in projects locally. There's a lot of citizen science out there that people can be a part of. And it's empowering to like look around and see how many people are chipping away, even outside of their their job in a completely different field. They're spending some of their free time counting some specific bird species for a population assessment, and stuff like that is really important and should be celebrated. Getting involved and just knowing what's out there.
If listeners want to find you, connect with you, learn more about you or your work, where's the best place to do so?
Yeah, so I can give you my email. I love talking to people about what they're interested in, like job internship wise. If they need help with that. And then
don't you have Twitter?
That, I do have a Twitter. It's not very active, but I do have a Twitter, and then I also have a Facebook.
Okay. We'll put links to that in the show notes for your episode.
Yeah. I'm planning on making an Instagram for just wildlife related things, so I will send that to you as soon as that project is up and running.
Cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, Aislinn, this was super fun.
Oh, I never thought this would happen.
Thank you for being on this show. It was really fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Kara. It's been wonderful.
Hey, one more thing. Do you want to dive more into the ocean and marine biology? Need a little guidance on ocean conservation? Head on over to marinebio.life/resources. We've got book recommendations, job posting pages, conference suggestions, and ocean-friendly products. All recommendations have been personally vetted by me, and I will continue to add to the collection as I come across cool things to share. Head on over to marinebio.life/resources to learn more. See you over there. Thank you for listening to today's show. I'd love to hear any insight you've gleaned. Leave a comment in the show notes or send me an email over at marinebio.life. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a review and, of course, share with your friends. If you want more resources for ocean news, including conservation topics and careers, plus personal insight from me that I just don't share anywhere else, join me at marinebio.life and sign up for email updates. Keep after your dreams and making waves in your community. One person can make a difference. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist podcast.